Warning. This program contains strong language, auditory violence, and mental nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion advised. Greetings once again, brothers and sisters of Warcraft, and welcome back to the latest episode of your only uncensored World of Warcraft podcast, Unshackled Fury. We are now going on day 15 without Legion Alpha access. Well, we haven't made the big time yet, but what are you going to do? I'm still here, I'm still kicking. I am your bi-weaponized host, Berserker. And this week we'll be talking about Legion data mining, artifacts, garrison updates, Winter Veil, and I'll be raging against an unstoppable force. But first, well, I should tell you that first I want to apologize the show is coming to you a day late because I am still learning. Let's face it, I'm a noob at this. I don't know what I'm doing half the time, so the show is coming to you late. It's probably not in its best technical form, so I do want to make sure that I'm honest up front and just tell you, if there hear little glitches and bleeps and all manner of kind of weird shit on this episode, I apologize. Still a work in progress, as we all know. So bear in mind as you go through that this is somewhat of a salvage mission, but I think we'll be okay in the meantime. So now, something a little different. As you know, this show is but in its infancy, and I've got a few ideas rolling around in my head about segments I want to put together and how all of it fits with this show. And frankly, it's my show. I can do whatever I please. And this is going to be one of those times we'll try something out and see how it goes. The events in San Bernardino last week got me to thinking about one of the segments that I wanted to put together. And rather than put it all the way at the end of the show, I'm going to put it right here, front and center, right now. Some people like to do these sort of quote-unquote thought pieces, and I don't really want to do anything or call anything that's that douchey. So let's just call what this is a bit of a deeper thought on a common theme and a bit of perspective on who I am. So without any further ado, I present the first installment of something I like to call Inside the Helm. So to start, I want to ask all of you a question. Why do you play World of Warcraft? For some, this answer may be as simple as it's just a fun game with a lot to do. And for others, the game serves as what some sociologists might classify as a third place, a home away from home, a place of social gathering that is basically neither work nor home. And while I and many people enjoy the game for all of these aspects, there's one aspect to explore for why so many of us enjoy our time on Azeroth: refuge. Let's be honest with ourselves for a minute. No matter how much we love the people and activities in our lives, there comes a point when we simply need some time to ourselves. Spouse or kids harassing you at every step, boss yelling in your ear about TPS reports, customers, the public, TV, radio, all the bullshit of everyday life, and all of it in your face every moment without reprieve. Now, around this time of year, we tend to think of all that we are thankful for, and while I know many of us are thankful for these people and the purposes in our lives, there is a refuge from beyond the digital portal that provides a respite from this like none other I have ever known. If you've listened to this show from the beginning, you know a little about me. That I play a Fury Warrior, that I'm a bit off kilter, emotionally charged. But in this first Inside the Helm, I thought I would delve a little deeper into explaining what I get out of this game, why I play it, why I appreciate it, why I love it so much, and why it holds such personal significance to me. As a child of divorce in the 80s, I always loved the cyberpunk and high fantasy genres as a means of escape. So even at a very young age, I was drawn to movies like The Neverending Story, Willow, Tron, and the original Rankin Bass animated version of The Hobbit. There was something about these worlds that spoke to me, something intangible, something ethereal, something even to this day I can't quite put my finger on, as if it's some kind of a familiar memory that I just cannot fully recall. And even though these worlds were always based upon some kind of titanic struggle that I would not possibly wish to contend with in my real life, there's always been some kind of pull to be there and away from my very own and very real turmoil. I was privileged enough to grow up in a household with video gaming, and so tying together my escapist love of fantasy and technology, I was provided my first taste of becoming fully involved in these worlds with the original Legend of Zelda. With sword and shield, and I, at the tender age of 7, wandered what seemed to be, at the time anyway, a vast and wondrous landscape filled with creatures and dungeons, heroes and villains, danger and triumph, and all at my command. Unlike my favorite stories, I didn't have to imagine myself as Bastion or Flynn or Bilbo. For the first time, I was Link. Unlike my own life, I could fight against anyone who hurt me. I decided where I went, what I did, and when I defeated a test or a dungeon boss, it was because I was the one who did it. As I've gotten older, the works of Tolkien, Gibson, and others have helped further flesh out my enjoyment of these fantastical worlds and ideas, and my love of gaming has grown right alongside. Games like Deus Ex, Lords of the Realm, and Rome Total War were always at the forefront of my free time. But nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for that fateful day when I first witnessed the South Park episode, Make Love, Not Warcraft. That's right, Berserker is a South Park baby. Before then, I'd only really seen references to the game in the Blizzard archive of RTS games and literature. I'd never be able to tell you exactly why I had to hit up that free 10-day trial after that episode was over, whether it was just the visuals, Randy's speech about who he was in real life versus who he was in the game, he's a filthy hunter, or any other number of intangibles that clicks with a brain, but it did. The funny thing is, I can clearly remember standing at the top of my stairs, talking to my wife, telling her I was only going to test out the game on the trial, and I was sure I probably wasn't going to keep playing. That was 9 years ago. At that time in my life, I worked a job I hated, and in my mind, every day was worse than the last. But suddenly, like Randy Marsh, I soon found myself in Elwyn Forest, not simply as Berserker the Man. No, I was Berserker the Warrior, smashing level 5 spiders near Goldshire. I was immediately hooked. The setting, the music, the lore, the visuals, I couldn't get enough. And I have to say, the music is especially one of the biggest ways Warcraft has worked its way into my blood. Even this past weekend, I was taking a long drive, and with my Warcraft Pandora station pumping through the speakers, I was instantly whisked away once again to the mindset of being somewhere else that still somehow feels like home. So, back at the beginning. It was at this horrible job I had at the time that I met my dear friend Hannibal, and it didn't take long for me to start going on in our office about how amazing this game was, the spider business, and how he had to get in there with me. And before long, there he was, he and I, joined in Elwyn, smashing spiders and exploring the borders beyond. And so I had found a temporary escape in a new form, one that provided a less solitary adventure, and one that allowed me the most total immersion into a world of sword and sorcery that I'd ever had. For a few hours at a time, I could let go of the day-to-day worries that plagued me, and also escape the onslaught of death and destruction that was brought into my home every day via the news. As you recall, the mid-2000s was not exactly a pleasant time for our country or our collective psyche, as we were embroiled in the midst of a protracted war, and we had a financial situation which was about to be quite dire. But in World of Warcraft, I found sanctuary. Fast forward to September 28th, 2012. Driving home on a Friday evening, typical end-of-the-week traffic, I come to a stop in the fast lane of one of the major highways near the city I work. Now, call it what you want, whether instinct or divine intervention, but I felt the need to look in my rearview mirror as I was stopped. And as I did, I see a car coming up behind me at full speed, which around there is about 70 to 75 miles per hour. With a second or two to react, I turn my wheel to the left towards the median, hit the gas, but just as I start to move, I suddenly find myself looking at the ceiling of my truck with the angry sound of twisting metal and shattering glass all around me. Although I was able to climb out of the wreck that day, the toll that was taken upon my body will last for the rest of my foreseeable life. Having undergone 7 separate excruciating procedures to try and repair the damage done to at least 8 of my spinal joints, I am left at this time with few options for the future, and believe me, none of them are pleasant. And I'm not telling you this story because I want your pity or your sorrow. I say this because it has now become part of my answer to the question of why I play World of Warcraft. It's hard to escape the daily grind of life at times, and although my view comes from a life raised in white, middle-class America, in and of itself a great privilege, it is no less important to find avenues of diversion from the toll that life itself will take on you, because it will, no matter where you come from. So in answering my own question as to why I play, I go back to one of those very first thoughts that tempted me to step a digital foot into Azeroth in the first place. Except now, I would say I play because, even for just a few hours a week, I don't have to be Berserker, the man with facet joint syndrome, husband and father who must shield his wife and his son from the horrors of life that lurk around every corner. No, I am Berserker the Fury Warrior, Raid Leader, Slayer of Deathwing and the Lich King, Savior of Azeroth, and Champion of the Frozen Wastes, who gets to ride with his friends into the most dangerous hells and come through together on the other side, another adventure awaiting. We all have our reasons to play, and these are mine. And I can never say how thankful I am for such a place to escape to, if only for a little while. Now that the introspection for this week is done, let's open up the floodgates and let the wrath flow with this week's target of my unbridled fury. Let's rage! If you've read any of my tweets lately, you know right where this is going. So, as most of us know, the Legion Alpha is in full swing and data miners are burning up their collective servers as new items, quests, and NPCs galore are uncovered, cataloged, and open for a peek. And therein lies the greatest threat to all of us, the need for some sick people out there in the world to spoil the fucking story for the rest of us. Am I absurd in getting pissed off about people spoiling the story for a game played by millions? Well, probably. But I am unabated in my call that people need to stop spoiling shit for other people. Read a Game of Thrones book before someone else? Great. Shut the fuck up. Saw The Force Awakens before someone else? Awesome. Shut the fuck up. Read the Legion story spoiler somewhere or went through the alpha content? Good for you. Shut the fuck up. I get it. You want to be the special snowflake who breaks the news to people, thus granting yourself some form of perverse and fleeting power over your fellow man. Or maybe you just like being a complete and utter asshole who must, for reasons only your therapist can divine, ensure other people are robbed of the enjoyment that comes from being surprised by the activities they love. With any new and exciting entertainment spectacle, as is usually the venue of these types of activities, there is inevitably a rush by a select few people to see who can dig up the dirt fast enough to be the one to scream to the world whatever it is that has been kept under wraps. Of course, the spoiling of major Legion plot points are my own fault after all, because I went on the internet. That was dumb. That was really dumb. If I had simply stayed off the internet until, like June? Then all would be intact for my waiting eyes to see. Listen up. There is a social contract that we must all agree to in order to keep the peace, and don't give me any of that shit about statute of limitations either. Because let me tell you, hot on the heels of having some major Legion stuff spoiled for myself, I watched in abject horror as I showed my near 5-year-old son The Empire Strikes Back for the first time, and when it came time for the big I am your father reveal, My son just sat there stone-faced because some shithead other kid spoiled it for him and he already knew the secret. So in close, I want to end this. I trust you, my listenership, are not among those who would carry out such malicious acts of wanton destruction. But should you ever feel that irresistible urge to spoil something for somebody else, just remember, that's what shithead little kids do. Don't be a shithead. Thank you. And now, on to the news. And now it's time for News and the Blues. So without spoiling anything, since I don't want to be that kind of shithead, just the kind that I usually am, I can safely tell you there is a growing tsunami of Legion information forming in the void of the internet, and it is growing by the day. The alpha initially opened with just a portion of the new Demon Hunter starting zone available for play, but that has since expanded greatly to now include a wide variety of classes and specs and a look at the talents for each of those. I figured it was safe to take a peek at a couple of the alpha videos people have been posting on YouTube, and quite frankly, I was not disappointed at what I found. One of the more popular Fury Warrior folks is a guy named Asmongold, and while his video was fairly instructional for myself, I was amazed at what appears to be a tremendous amount of work Blizzard has done to improve animations. Watching the video, I saw nearly, a half a dozen or so new animations, and they looked simply phenomenal. So, granted, I'm only really interested in one class and one spec because I'm lame that way. But I would really recommend that you go out, take a look at your class, your specs, see what videos are posting. Hopefully it's not too spoilerish. I would say that there are some that are worse than others in that respect, but if you're looking for just play style, rotations, new talents, whatever it is, go out there, hit up some streams, check out YouTube, whatever it is, and you'll find a wealth of information available to you right now. And like I said before, it is continuing to grow by the day. Artifacts are also seeing a fuller realization on the alpha realms, with many of them not only having their colors and forms being data mined, but several of the quest chains to obtain them are now available as well. Looking around on the various alpha streams, folks are starting to get a sustained peek into how many of the artifacts are obtained. So, in the event you don't care when and how you see that sort of material, check around and see if a stream or video has been put together for your class or spec. Again, they seem to be growing in availability on a fairly regular basis. Along with the artifacts, artifact talents and relics are also getting revealed, with both Wowhead and MMO Champion posting talent calculators for your perusal. As always, keep in mind that all of this stuff is getting shown very early in its iteration, and all of it is subject to change. But should you be lucky enough to gain that alpha access, poke around, see what rocks you can turn over, and be sure to send Blizz your feedback. After all, if you've been chosen at this stage, even beta later on, they want to hear from you. Also this week, shipyard improvements. All right, so last we checked in on the current state of the final stretch of Warlords of Draenor, patch 6.2.3. Valor points were brought back into fashion, time walking was expanded, and the Sparkle Moose had nuzzled its way into our hearts. I personally thought this was going to be it as far as the expansion's content went, when lo and behold, a wild set of hotfixes appeared, bringing changes to perhaps the most ill-conceived concept of Warlords, the Garrison Shipyard. Now, I don't know what the original purpose of the shipyard was supposed to be, or if what it is now is what it was always supposed to be. But outside of the required legendary components, the shipyard content has landed with a resounding thud. Easily destroyed epic ships and nothing but easily outgeared baleful gear is mostly what has awaited us, and only with the super rare chance that a fun or useful mission came along with a mount or a pet or whatever. And it would seem Blizzard has heard this thud from across the land and has finally done something about it. So, to perhaps engage us a little bit further in the shipyard content, Blizzard has just last week hotfixed the following changes into the game. So no waiting for another patch. These puppies are live right now. For naval missions, rare naval missions should now appear more frequently. They're also increasing the chance of success on a naval mission and will now decrease the chance a ship will be destroyed on failure. So if the mission success chance is at 90% or above, you will no longer use a ship. And I think that probably solves the biggest problem that whole system had, other than the kind of boring missions that they had. They also have a naval blockade change, so naval blockade missions now have a shorter duration of just 30 minutes and a reduced oil cost of 50 down from 100. They're also increasing the amount of time before a naval blockade returns up to 7 days, which is up from 5. So all in all, it would appear that they have heard that 1, this thing is boring, 2, what is there is annoying, and 3, that it's really disheartening to lose an epic ship, or really any ship, when you have, let's say, a 96% success rate and you watch an epic ship go down. It's the fucking worst. So, excellent changes. Way to go, Blizzard. They have also made a few changes to the ships and crews of those ships. They have increased the success chance bonus on missions provided by a human crew by 50%. They've also increased success chance bonus on missions provided by a Pandaren crew by 33%, and the bonus will now apply to missions that are 12 hours or longer, when before it was 18 hours. Oh, 18 hours. Oh, my God, that's awful. Ugh. They have also significantly increased the effectiveness and bonuses provided by the naval equipment items by 100%. So they're buffing crews, they're buffing ships. Good news all around. There's also something about PvP, but again, you know the drill. I'm not going to talk about it here. From my own personal experience, I can tell you that not only have these changes come to life in full force, I was so used to all of the useless quests and crappy rewards that I actually ignored the quest for the left shark companion because my brain didn't even register that was what I was looking at. I was just like, what the hell is that? Oh, it must be shitty, whatever. And I went on. Stupid me. Otherwise, I've seen the River Beast mount pop up, which I did obtain, and it would appear that the shipyard is finally having a little life pumped into it just as we are about to sail back to our home seas. See what I did there? And so looking forward to next week. It's that time again to get your ass down to Ironforge, or Orgrimmar if you're of that persuasion, and see Great Father Winter, because another one of the great Azerothian holidays will be here at last, the Feast of Winter Veil, beginning on Wednesday, December 16th, and running through Sunday, January 2nd. We'll apparently have the usual quests and dailies of baking cookies, getting milk, saving Metzen the reindeer from the Grange for about the billionth time. But this year, we'll have a few more dailies added in Draenor. Now, you never know how these things will go live, but for now it appears we'll be killing grumplings, something called a grumpus, destroying quote-unquote unusual gifts, and of course, saving the children. Along with quests new and old, we'll also have some new stuff in the game to enjoy, from pets and toys and a mount to more garrison decorations. They were pretty sweet for Hallow's End, so I'm looking forward to those. So taking a look at some of the additional items from this year for 2015, we have a new Grumpling pet. We have a new red wooden sled toy, which apparently one of your friends can pull you on, or you can pull a pet on. I'll be curious to see how that works. Looks like there'll be a couple of new presents in the form of a Crash and Thrash and Flamer controller and a Crash and Thrash and Killdozer controller. Those sound like fun. There will be a minion of Grumpus mount, so we'll be able to ride this big, giant, hulking, Grinch-ish sort of looking thing, so that'll be cool. There will be a portable snowblower, so you can annoy your friends and family by creating a snowstorm wherever you go. What? A yellow snowball? Did I write this? Oh, that's disgusting. Which is worse? Either you peed in the snow and you made your own snowball out of it, or you get hit with that. Ooh, that's just foul. Blizzard, I know you have some sort of obsession with urine and fecal matter, but this, oh man, that's just gross. All right, that's gross. Yellow snowball, the worst snowball, it says. I would agree. We'll have a new weapon illusion, Winter's Grasp, that will make things look frosty. There'll be a Pug Disguise, Merry Munchkin costume. We'll be able to turn in some tokens that we'll get for our dailies in Draenor for a Savage Gift, which at this point nobody knows what that is. And there will also be a new consumable, a Fizzy Apple Cider, which increases your gathering rate. So get out there and gather. Yeah, super exciting. For our garrison decorations, there will be a ball of tangled lights, a festive display of lights and wreaths, imported trees, a festive collection of trees and presents, little helpers, Winter Veil helpers, and a winter wondervault. Curious. Festive outfits, dress your garrison guards for the season, and a box of old decorations. Apparently they've gone through my house. A collection of candy canes, mistletoe, and stockings. Oh, I thought they just meant all the shitty stuff I hide in the back of the closet. Okay, cool. That sounds better than what I was thinking. And do we have a Grinch song? I don't know. Maybe I should make one. Wasn't sure if I'd do another show before the holiday, but I'll have to think about that one. One more thing, there are select pets and mounts on sale in the Blizzard shop for 50% off. So if you've been waiting to get a discount on a Warforged Nightmare or Armored Bloodwing mount, even gift a Cinder Kitten or two to your friends and guildmates, 'tis the season from now until January 4th. So get out there, save the children, save the reindeer, get yourself some goodies, and enjoy the last of the great holiday festivities on Azeroth. Well, that does it for me this week. I hope you enjoyed this continued experiment through that space between my ears, as weird and scary as that can be at times. Back to Azeroth and through the Dark Portal. Remember, you can always follow me on Twitter at Berserker Rage for all further updates, and the show itself on SoundCloud and iTunes. Again, thank you for listening. Happy Winter Veil. Strength and honor to you, friends.